Happy Thursday, Happy New Year, and today is a special day for me, a day that I celebrate every year. It's another year of this show. We've reached 8 years of Developer Tea now, and we won't spend a ton of time looking back necessarily on this show because if you want to do that, you can go and listen to every episode. You can listen to the whole back catalog on developertea.com. But I do want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you sincerely. This is not just lip service. The show wouldn't exist if people like you weren't listening. And it is the thrill of my career to be able to give you a second way of thinking, a new perspective, a moment to ponder whether what you thought yesterday is what you should be thinking today. A way of growing your career in a short segment of time. And I've just been so grateful to be able to do that for 8 years. And I've gotten story after story that has continued to propel me forward to not consider stopping this podcast. And I am just so appreciative. So thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this show, if you want us to keep going, which we have no intentions of stopping, but if you want this show to continue reaching more engineers like you, then go and leave a review in iTunes or in whatever podcasting platform you currently use. Share the show with your friends. Join the Discord community, developertea.com/Discord. These are all the best ways that you can help Developer Tea. And of course, you can get more involved yourself. If you haven't subscribed, of course, subscribe as well in whatever podcasting app or platform that you use. And we're not going to waste an entire episode on just talking about how we've been here for 8 years. I do want to discuss with you the reality of being wrong today. If you imagine what it feels like to be wrong about something, what do you imagine? What events lead up to it? And what do you see yourself doing in response to being wrong? If you're like me, or if you're like most people, you imagine that when you're wrong, you find out quickly. That you find out in no uncertain terms, that there's clarity at some point. You recognize it, you accept it, and you change and move on. Of course, we know this isn't the case. Think about the last time you were actually wrong. Instead of imagining yourself being wrong in the future, what did it look like the last time you were wrong? The truth is, you probably don't know. We are all wrong in some way, small or big, every single day. The guesses we're making, the estimations we're making, the kinds of code we're writing, all of these things have small errors, sometimes big errors, and almost invariably, we don't know. We can't see that we are wrong. Why is this the case? Think back to the last thing that you were wrong about. There's many reasons why you may have believed something was true and then found out later that that thing was not true. Or plenty of reasons why you wrote that code in that particular way and imagined that it would work, and in fact, it doesn't work. Very rarely do you open your code editor, probably never actually, and write absolute nonsense. Instead, you write something that looks like it should work. Instead of believing something that's absolutely wrong, you probably believe something that is mostly correct, or at least mostly plausible. That is, when we are wrong in a way that is mostly indiscernible from being right. Let this sink in for a second. When you are wrong, when you have made an error, when you've made a misjudgment, when you believe something that isn't true, when you do something with one intention towards a particular outcome, but you get a completely different outcome, even when things are mostly in your control. When you do something based on an incorrect belief, in that moment, you don't know that it's incorrect because it looks, it feels, it seems correct. The key insight here is you don't feel wrong. You don't have the emotion connected to being wrong. Now, interestingly, in retrospect, sometimes we do attach those emotions. We do recognize the kind of embarrassing feeling of being wrong when we do find our faults. But this retrospect is a very different experience. And interestingly, we also tend to cover up our own past experiences so that we forget that we were wrong in the first place. Once again, if you're like most people, you probably have a hard time recalling your recent mistakes. This is a feature of our brains, even though it may feel like a bug. So what does it feel like to be wrong? Well, it probably feels like being right. This means, and this is the critical point, we cannot solely trust our intuition, our gut, our feelings, our own judgment to know when we're steering off the path. We need other things, other people, other systems to check us. This may come in very obvious forms like tests, automated tests for your code, or it may come in very non-obvious forms like listening to the opinion of a small child over your own. The prevailing lesson, the takeaway here, is that we could all benefit from cultivating a bit more curiosity, a bit more skepticism of our own sense of confidence, and perhaps even a bit more empathy and quickness to forgive when we see others being wrong. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode, this 8-year anniversary episode of Developer Tea. I can't believe that we're just 2 years shy of a decade of doing a podcast. That's mind-boggling, and I have you to thank for that. So thank you so much for listening. Once again, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe in whatever podcasting app you're currently using. If you want to dig in more with the community listening to this show and improving in their careers and in their personal lives every day, you can join that community totally free, developertea.com/Discord to join that. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, enjoy your tea.